This is a rat race, but I'm no rat. I'm a turtle, Ninja Turtle. So which one's your favorite? I like Michelangelo.
Tony El Coboy Ferguson is one of the greatest lightweight fighters of all time. He is a polarizing figure in the sport, but an icon nonetheless. Let's take a look at his earnings and lifestyle.
Let's go.
Number 5. His UFC earnings. Tony's US career has been remarkable for many reasons. For instance, he has defeated most of his opponents spectacularly. Plus, every fight is a pageant for hardcore MMA fans due to his unorthodox fighting style. Tony is also infamous for having one of the longest and challenging routes to the lightweight title. At the same time, Tony has also made millions for his decade-long employment. It wasn't easy at the start, as Ferguson had to take part in the Ultimate Fighter's 13th season on Team Lesnar. He showed off his talents and his wacky nature to win the tournament, grabbing a six-figure contract and about $56,000 in the tournament's final matchup. A prelims fighter, he made $30,000 for each of his fights against Aaron Riley at UFC 135 and Yves Edwards at the TUF 14 finale.
Tony El Coboy Ferguson. Ferguson by unanimous decision. He is now 3-0 in his UFC career.
He made $15,000 for losing against Michael Johnson, but made his first ever 100 G's for choking out Mike Rio at UFC 166. 'Twas a great night for pay-per-view pirates as well, because the fight was so low on the card, it was streamed for free on Facebook.
His technique, he got it, it's all over! Tony Ferguson, as advertised, finishes with the choke.
His next 3 fights paid him in the $40,000 range, but he made almost $100,000 for submitting Gleison Tibau at UFC 184. Tony was now fighting on the main card and would make 6 figures on the regular. He even made more than $200,000 for choking out Edson Barboza at the TUF 22 finale. Tony was then paid in the $160K range for his next 2 fights. The latter of the 2 was a win against RDA, which was also the first time that Tony had headlined a card. Ferguson got paid about $100,000 for sitting out at UFC 209 when his opponent Khabib Nurmagomedov couldn't make it due to a bad weight cut, or in Tony's words, from eating bad tiramisu.
Michael Johnson got offered or was offered or said he called in to fight. They wanted to give me a pay cut. They didn't want to offer me a title shot. And they wanted me to basically just, I want to fight. I want to fight, but it's got to be on my terms. It's got to be fair terms, like how I was for Khabib. And it's just kind of bummer, man. It's a hard pill to swallow. And I'm really gutted.
Tony would make a whopping $500,000 for his fight against Kevin Lee for the interim lightweight title. He'd earn more than $200,000 for his wins over Anthony Pettis and Coboy Cerronem. He'd cross the $500K mark for his next 2 losses against Justin Gaethje and then against his younger clone, Charles Oliveira. He took home $750,000 after losing to Beneil Dariush at UFC 263. This puts his UFC earnings at about $3.3 million. Remember that most of these payouts are the disclosed earnings, and that Tony probably made a lot more than the figure mentioned here. Stick around for 2 interesting Tony facts that you may not know about the legend. Number 4. His endorsements and business ventures. Endorsements are the best way to make money for underpromoted MMA fighters. Tony is one of those fighters, as he has never gotten his just due with the UFC, despite his stellar record. Tony does have a couple of sponsorships, however, and he promotes their products on his social media. Ferguson has about 2.4 million followers on Instagram and a cult following, which we'll get into. He has had problems with management and ended up switching companies. He says that he did not get a lot of sponsorships with his previous management company, Paradigm Sports, which is a real shame considering that they manage or have managed some of the biggest names in the sports, including Conor McGregor, or in Tony's own words, McNuggets.
There's no management to do bad business behind my back anymore with Paradigm Sports Management. You can't be using that and you're manipulating the system along with the UFC to get that money. Those guys owe me like $500,000. You gotta understand that. So Conor he's in debt with me, so I'm coming after that ass. That's why he's laughing anytime I post something, and that's why he's trying to stay in the. You see Proper 12 everywhere. They want him to be a champ. Dog, you and your 7-headed snake. cut your bitch ass off.
This led him to switch to the Ball and G Group. With his new team, Tony announced sponsorship deals for companies like RDX Sports, whose product he is an ambassador for. Ferguson, being an elite fighter, also gets individual deals with Monster Energy and Reebok. Tony, being the acrobatic freak of nature that he is also an ambassador for Off-Axis Acrobatics, a footwear company. One of the few common things that he shares with other fighters is that he has also promoted a betting company. He has been endorsed by BetOnline.ag, which is a US-based sportsbook. Tony has also promoted the products of sports drinks company Body Armor, like his fellow UFC colleagues Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Michelle Watterson. He has also promoted Hyper Rice's massage products. He has been endorsed by many other companies, including the beer producer Cerveza Montejo. Not much is known about his other business dealings, but he does have a company that is dedicated to printing out his merch and selling out NFTs. It is said that Tony's the type of guy to pay his sponsors for endorsing him, but nothing's confirmed.
Hey crew, it's your host of the most. Check this out, I got something really cool in the mail today from my friends over at Neanderthal Fire Company. Champs Only Butcher Block. Lots of love and effort went into making this board, and I want to say to Chris and everybody over at the Neanderthal Fire Company, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you very much. We're going to make sure we're using this every single day.
Tony fact: Tony's fight with Khabib is cursed. That's correct. The two have been booked to fight each other 5 different times, and Tony's probably the only fighter that can send Khabib his location. But for one reason or another, the fight hasn't been able to take place. Their first matchup was scheduled at the TUF 22 finale, but Khabib pulled out due to injury. The next battle was to take place at UFC on Fox 19 after Tony's opponent Michael Johnson got injured. This time, it was Tony who pulled out because of a lung issue. At UFC 209, they were to face off, but Khabib had to ditch the fight due to a bad weight cut. Their fourth scheduled fight at UFC 223 was scrapped because Tony got injured and got replaced by Al La Quinta. Their final fight couldn't happen because of the pandemic, and Khabib retired soon afterwards. That last one's a real shame, because Tony could have just blocked the coronavirus with his shades.
And my elbows are sliced and diced. It's called Blades and Shades. Look at it. Straight up.
Anyway, back to the list. Number 3. His hobbies. Tony is the kind of guy whose life is all about fighting, but there's more. While he's all about training for self-improvement, he shows interest in a couple of hobbies as well. Tony likes being around Mother Nature and loves capturing media that focuses on its beauty. He likes to grow plants and can be seen documenting the progress of some of his seedlings. Tony's blade references extend far beyond blades and shades and blade dancing during fights. He seems to have quite a collection of blade weapons. Most of them have been presented to him by friends and fans. Tony's the type of guy to post memes and funny videos of him making a joke of his opponents, regardless of whether he won the fight or not. He's pretty handy with tools. His stepdad was a contractor who took Tony under his wing from a young age. By the age of 6, he was already his apprentice, helping him with projects which included renovating their home. These skills came in handy, and he later used them to his advantage when building his own training facility at home.
Without causing any harm to Mother Nature. I'm from Michigan. We used to have like 40 acres. Used to watch my pops build stuff all the time. So it was actually a chance for me to become the master instead of the apprentice. Before I came out here, I've been remodeling my house. It's been really fun.
Tony is a massive fan of baseball, which is a reason for him bringing baseballs into press conferences. He likes to attend batting practices, and has said he'd like to try to make a go of things in the sport and give a shot at MLB. Number 2. His crazy training methods. Tony is one of the most eccentric personalities in the sport of MMA, if not the most. This is in part due to his outlandish fighting style, which is an unpredictable plethora of Wing Chun moves, fierce grappling, unmatched athleticism, and a strong chin. His fighting IQ is off the charts, and we can often see him utilize various awkward or freakishly awesome techniques based on the type of fan you are. Tony is much better known for the craziest training routines in MMA history. He has constructed his own training apparatus at his house, and he regularly posts videos of his unique workouts on his personal Instagram page. These include smacking his arms and legs against metal poles to build bone strength,
No blood.
and throwing baseballs off a pitcher's mound to build power for right-hand punches. He has been seen swinging a hammer while balancing on a gym ball and doing somersaults over tall stacks of gym mats. Legend has it that Tony likes to hide in Francis Ganal's punching bag to develop his conditioning.
Why do I do this? Smiles, man.
Tony's freaky routines are said to be responsible for a few of those missed bouts against Khabib. The man has spent a third of his life recovering from his injuries. Tony fact: he didn't plan on getting into MMA. He used to work in marketing and sales during the day and picked up shifts as a bartender at night. Once while working a night shift, a patron noticed his cauliflower ear and struck up a conversation about Tony's wrestling background. The man turned out to be a trainer at a local MMA gym and invited Tony to work with some of the young fighters on their wrestling. Soon after, Tony decided to pursue an MMA career, and the rest as we know it is history. Number 1. His lifestyle. Tony's net worth is about $3.5 million, with his last fight paying him about $750 grand. Still, you won't know where he spends it, as Tony is quite active on social media, but you'll just find that he trains and promotes his sponsors. Other than that, he is a dedicated family man, and he likes to take his family out to travel and eat at fancy destinations. Tony loves to travel and train at remote locations. An unknown aspect of his personality is that he's a gearhead. Unlike his opponent for UFC 262, Beneil Dariush, Tony doesn't believe in silent Tesla cars. He owns a Dodge Challenger RT, which chugs fuel and is a staple of the muscle cars category. He also owns a Harley-Davidson motorcycle.
It's alright.
But his coolest ride is a gorgeous, show-quality 1956 Chevrolet in the PSCA's limited 235 heads-up category. The car is built to go racing, but it is road legal, similar to Tony being a killer MMA fighter that is allowed to walk on the streets. Tony's got a big, beautiful house in Big Bear Lake, California, where his training den is situated. He's also collaborated with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So this was the life of Tony Ferguson. Tony is one of the most underappreciated UFC fighters of all time, who was put through a way longer route to the lightweight title than necessary. It's a shame that Tony couldn't square up against Khabib, because he would undoubtedly have been the Russian's biggest test to date. He might be on a losing streak right now, but he is a warrior with nothing left to prove.
When you lose, you get in the consolation brackets. When I got the win streak to say, yeah, you declared that, man. Like literally, you don't get such a big win streak unless you've actually lost it. That's the truth. You can get the win streak and you can keep going, but in the UFC, like I say, once you get to the top, it's hard. It's really hard because you start running out of people, man. I've sent people to different divisions. They never wanted to come back. They're not sure of themselves. It's one of those things that I've understood, and
whether he continues or not, he will always have the support of the fans, as an elite fighter and as a cult figure. As always, if you liked the video, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more videos.
Alright guys, much love. I gotta get to work.